In this lesson, we'll look at the sidebar in Adobe Rome and get an understanding of what sheets, master sheets, and objects are all about. The sidebar on the left side of Adobe Rome is where you'll find information about sheets and objects within your document. Now, you don't necessarily have to have multiple sheets, but if you're creating something like a web page or a click-through interactive project, then you might want to have separate sheets. For instance, on a web page, you might have a home page, and then the individual pages would be contained on separate sheets. Sheets can be quite interesting in Adobe Rome because you can link from one sheet to another. You can create buttons that move from sheet to sheet and so forth, and even have transitions between sheets. So to view the sheets or to view the sidebar, remember by default it will open with that item showing, but you can also turn it off by selecting in the view menu Show Sheets and Objects. When you're working on a sheet, you'll see a small pencil icon appear to the right of the sheet, and you'll have a highlighted area here to let you know that that is the active sheet. Now it's pretty easy in this case because I have got these big geometric shapes on here to show me which sheet is which. But if you're working on something a little more subtle, perhaps with text, you want to make sure that you're working on the correct sheet. The little pencil icon also allows you to create or to gather information about the sheet. You can rename your sheets, and you can add transitions of different kinds as you move from one sheet to another. They're kind of interesting things that you can do with sheets as well. Now, the other kind of sheet is a master sheet. And a master sheet is used when you have something that you want to appear on every one of the sheets within the document. So again, for instance, using a web page as an example, you might have a header image and a logo at the top of your web page and a common navigation bar that moves from one place to another. And you would view your master sheets by turning them on, clicking on View, Show Master Sheets, and then you'll see the master sheet appear. The same pencil icon appears, and if I draw something like a rectangle that appears on my master sheet, you'll see that that same object is going to appear on all the sheets that are located within the document. So master sheets can be used to create common objects. If I modify the object on my master sheet, say for instance I change its color, then that change will be reflected in all the sheets that are within the document. The sidebar is also where you'll find information about the different objects within your document. So in the objects listing down here, you're going to find, for instance, anything that you've inserted into the document listed here. So if I add a new item into my document, let's say I add some text, right? I'm going to see that object reflected. It also shows me the stacking order, so I know which objects come on top or below each other. So if I want to put my text on top of the rectangle, I know it's in the right order. And it also provides the opportunity for me to hide or reveal objects. This is going to be pretty important when you're working on complicated designs, when you want to turn the view of some items off so you can concentrate on one item in particular. You can turn off or turn on the view of an object. The other thing that's useful here is the ability to lock an object. Again, in a complicated design, you might want to lock a certain item by clicking on the little lock icon. Sure that while you're adding additional items or selecting items within the document, you don't accidentally select something that you don't want to change. So within the Objects panel, you have the opportunity to select directly on an object on your canvas. Again, in complicated compositions, this might be important to you. And you also have the ability to hide and to lock the objects within the sidebar. Alright, that finishes up our look at the sidebar. Remember, you don't have to use additional sheets if you don't want to, but these can be very helpful and they're quite necessary if you're going to be creating multiple page documents. And the Objects panel, same kind of thing. For less complicated compositions, you may not need to look at these objects, but as you dig deeper and get your students working in more complex things, this is something that you might want to be able to do.